This is Catherine Isabel, and you're listening to the Knife Party Podcast. I hope you enjoy it, because I don't.
Groovy. Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Knife Party Podcast, where we leave it all on the cutting room floor. I'm, of course, your illustrious host, Zach Evergreen, and I am brought to you today by our Patreons. Patreon.com/KnifePartyPod is where you go to sign up. And there you get not only this show, you also get Slime Rick Radio, an old-fashioned shock jockey radio show that you'll love. You also get Knife Party After Dark. I was just on there with my good friend on a show called Dead Space, and I released this in After Dark, where he and I and Kevin Smith and another gentleman named Chad got very intoxicated, well, at least I was, and talked about everything in entertainment. It's a good show. You should check it out. We also have another show called Midnight Ramen, where I review mainly retro video games, and that's a lot of fun. And also, we do other stuff like there. Like, for example, we are going to be releasing our new album, Heaven's Heels, that is. You know, I do play music after all. We're going to be releasing our album track by track as it's finished on there as well. And remember, you get a free trial, so you don't have to commit. But if you do commit, that's awesome, because we have our yearly gear coming out. I'm actually going to be ordering it in September. So if you're not a member by September the 1st, you're kind of SOL. Please give me your long t-shirt size. And I'm going to have some gifts for all y'all. Anyway, also, if you're a member and you happen to have a business like Caps and Cork in the borderlands of Vallejo, California and American Canyon, California, I will shout out your business. Caps and Cork is where I go for all my adult beverages needs, including microbrews. Right now, I have a Lead Dog Brewing Salted Caramel Porter. 83.3%, and it tastes like a caramel macchiato, and it's delicious. I also have a Radium West Coast IPA in my other hand. Yes, I am double-fisted today, because I just had to watch Jason Goes to Hell. We're going to talk about it. Anyway, they have. Did you know if you buy 10 microbrews, you get 9 microbrews, you get the rest for a penny? That's a good deal. That's what I call capitalism, and they're awesome. Anyway, Caps and Cork is where I go, and you should go there too. And if you had a business, you would have a great live read like this. What else can I tell you? Yeah, you can hit me up on the Twitter at Father Heel. Heel spelled like your foot, H-E-E-L, as in villain. And I broadcast every Wednesdays at 6 p.m. unless something's going on. But it's 6 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Actually, it's 6:07. I started a little bit late because I just got finished watching Jason Goes to Hell. Now, before we get into that, one more thing. You can shoot me an email at knifepartypod@yahoo.com, because I keep it old school. I read every and all emails and respond to every and all emails, even though I only get like one every 3 months. Hey, Japan, Singapore, you guys are my number 2 and number 3 markets. Shoot me an email. I can use Google Translator. We'll figure it out. And thank you for listening, by the way. Gotta love Japan and Singapore. 2 places I want to visit because I love their food. Anyway, that's about it for all the plugs. Time to actually go into this flaming piece of crap. So, I actually don't hate this movie as much as I remember hating it. And to be fair, I've only seen this movie 3 times in my life. I saw it in a double feature, which was actually quite cool. It was when, back in the day when HBO used to give you free whatever. It was usually during the summertime. They had like a double horror feature like at prime time, and I remember me and my mom watched it. It was on I think a Saturday or a Sunday. I think it was a Sunday. I want to say it was Sunday because I remember talking about it at school the next day. And I was in 6th grade, so this is 1993 when this was released. I think I saw it in 1990. Yeah, I think I saw it in 1993. Yep. And the double feature was Jason Goes to Hell and Return of the Living Dead. Guess which one of those movies I liked more? Because one of them is great. One of them is not. Friday the 13th ended right before this with Jason Goes to Manhattan. We're actually going to talk about some legality before we get into the movie. In fact, my whole review is basically me taking notes while looking this up on the internet and maybe also while on the toilet, because I did write this review at least partially on the toilet. So, I have in my hand right now the Friday the 13th collection, and this is by Universal. So Universal, for those who don't know, the whole Jason thing is kind of split into two subcategories. And it bounces back and forth, which is weird. So you actually had the Universal collection, which is Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th Part 2, the best one. Friday the 13th Part 3, basically a remake of number 2. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, a very good one, and they probably should have ended it there, by the way. The final chapter is actually quite the best movie, I think. Tom Savini does a great job. Number 2 is basically one of the best slashers besides the new Michael Myers reboots, the Halloween reboots that came out in 2018. It's hard to top Friday the 13th Part 2. It's just a great movie. Final chapter actually kind of does. It's really awesome. And it really could have ended there. But then we got The New Beginning, which is garbage. I reviewed that. Jason Lives, which is even worse. The New Blood, which is probably one of the worst movies ever because it's like The Shining, not The Shining, kind of a little bit rips off The Shining. Firestarter and The Shining kind of put together and mixed with Jason. It's terrible. I know a lot of people like it because it's probably got the most memes, but it is terrible. The New Blood is terrible. And then Jason Takes Manhattan, which by this point, the movie franchise has become a parody of itself. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 bad movies in a row. And then you have 4 pretty good movies early on. Like number 1, I like, don't get me wrong, but why watch that movie when I could just watch Sleepaway Camp? Sleepaway Camp is a way better movie than this movie. It just is. I know it came out later, but the surprise ending is much better. And I know there's no Kevin Bacon, but still. If I want to watch Kevin Bacon, I'll watch Hollow Man or Stir of Echoes or Tremors. I'm not going to watch him die like through an arrow through the neck. That's kind of stupid. Like I said, number 2 is great. Number 3 is terrible. Well, it's not terrible. It's just a remake of number 3. People just like it because the hockey mask is first introduced. That's the only reason why people like it. Number 2, the characters, the victims rather, are actually quite relatable and good. In no other movie do I think this is a thing. Final chapter a little bit, but it's kind of more of like, Carnage Core than an actual movie. So I really don't, I mean, I think it's great for the effects and all, but really after that, you could just throw away the rest of the series. I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan wasn't even filmed in Manhattan. I think it was filmed in like Montreal or wherever Scott Pilgrim was filmed. It's definitely a Canadian film, which is pretty hilarious. I think there's only one shot, and most of it takes place on a boat too. Let's be honest, and the rest of it takes place in a sewer, and it's dumb. Jason Takes Manhattan at least has a place in my heart for being camp and knowing it's camp, whereas Jason Goes to Hell actually doesn't know what the hell it wants to be. Now, like I said, I just finished watching this movie moments ago, and I'm not saying that it's a great movie, but it is better than I remembered. So I'm just going to go over some of the cast and everything else. And of course, some of the reviews. I like reading other people's reviews. What would I give this though? Well, let's see. On Rotten Tomatoes, this got a 15 on the tomato meter and only 20 critics reviewed it. And the audience gave it a 23. So a 15-23, I think that's a little low because I think this movie does borrow, and I mean it borrows a lot. This movie is the actual example of plagiarism to a series that doesn't know what it wants to do, and you're basically just selling the title. And I know for a fact that there was a script that bounced around a lot because this had 3 different titles, and no one really knew what they wanted to do with it. I do believe that Freddy's Dead came out. I want to say it came out the year before. This is also the year that New Line Cinema actually bought the Jason character, but could not buy Friday the 13th. So there was like a little weird clause there. And Universal actually had enough time to release another movie, hence Jason X, which I'm surprised they didn't call Friday 13th 10. Instead, they call it Jason X. This, by the way, is called Jason Goes to Hell. It is not called Friday 13th Part 9. So there's only 11 movies featuring Jason, and they kind of footballed this one back and forth because Jason X, they actually, sorry, I apologize. New Line, I believe, owned the rights to Jason X, but they had to make a movie in order to keep it, or else it would go back to New Line. That's what happened. Okay. Sorry, I didn't have that on my notes. I'm just going off from our Sons and Shadows review of Jason X. So there you go. Okay. So this is going to jump around quite a bit because it is just being by myself. I have no spirit animal with me and no reviewer with me. Kevin Smith is out today because someone called in sick and he has to fill in, or else we wouldn't be reviewing this piece of crap in the first place. We'd actually be doing Brain Scan, which is a much better movie, which I just watched last night. I did this because Nikki and I were talking about Jason Goes to Hell due to the fact that we've established that Jason is a Deadite, and it is in the Evil Dead lore. However, in the series of movies, I would put this exactly in the middle. I would not put this in the top 4 movies, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. I would not put it at the bottom 4. I'd put it dead in the middle. I think this movie is for the series, I would give it a 55. But as a movie itself, I'd give it a 40. It's like Jason X, where Jason X totally jumps the shark. It really does. Jason X knows that it's jumping the shark. This movie just borrows from some of the other horror movies. I keep saying that over and over again. I have examples. It borrows from Terminator. It borrows from The Thing, a whole bunch. One could even argue Invasions of Bodysnachers, but no, The Thing, it borrows from it a lot. It almost even borrows from Dead Alive. It definitely borrows from Evil Dead. I can't mention that enough. There's reasons for this. We're going to get into that. And fact of the matter is that when you see a movie with Jason in the title and you only get to see Jason in the last and first scene in the movie, it kind of like, why is it called that? The original title was Heart of Darkness, which better title, or Jason's Heart of Darkness. But the original script for this movie was actually called Jason Takes LA. I would have actually loved to see this because pretty controversial today, but this movie was going to take place during the LA riots in 1991, which, by the way, started on my birthday, oddly enough. That Rodney King footage says March the 4th, which is hilarious. No, I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm just saying, I just remember it was my birthday and I was watching TV and going, oh no, things are going to be bad. I knew it. I think a 7 or 8 year old me knew. Yeah. 8-year-old me knew. It was like, things aren't going to, this is not going to be good for anybody. But anyway, yeah. So the original script was that Jason goes to LA and starts killing people, and the Bloods and the Crips kind of like unite to like kill Jason, which probably would have been a cool movie, to be honest with you. I mean, at least it would be original. Yeah, like I said, this movie borrows so much from other movies that it doesn't know what it wants to be. Some of the effects are pretty cool. I'm going to give it that. I did not hate it as much as I thought I would hate it. Like I said, I've only seen this movie 3 times. I saw it in 1993. I want to say I saw it in 2014. And now, here in the year of our Lord 2026, I watched it again. And I didn't hate as much as the last time, because the last time I saw it, I absolutely hated this, and I thought it was the worst in the series. Now, after watching almost all of them, rewatching almost all of them, the only ones we still have to cover on this show is actually part 1 and part 8, which we will do on the next Friday 13th, I promise. Yeah, I was supposed to review this also with Antonius, but you know what happened to him. If you don't know, go listen to After Dark or Slimer Radio, and you'll get the scoop on that. But he actually wanted to rewatch this. We'll never know his opinion because I'm blocked from his number. For no fault of my own, by the way. All right. Let's start this turkey. So, we see 33 miles to Fairfield. Now, here's the thing. Crystal Lake never had this sign, so we don't know if Crystal Lake has moved. I know on the fun facts on Amazon I was watching, I wrote a lot of them down for you, so you don't have to do it. You don't want to have to rent this for $3.99 and relive this experience. If you own it, I totally get it. If this is actually one of those movies too where fans are divided. Some people love this movie, some people hate it, kind of like Jason X. I mean, Jason X is a fun freaking movie. This movie is not that fun. That's the problem with it I have. It's not a fun watch. Some of the scenes are great. Some of the scenes are awful. The acting is, I'm not going to say piss poor, but it's pretty bad. None of the characters are relatable. You kind of like Steven at the end. Jessica is kind of vapid. The Duke, he's supposed to be the hero, but he's kind of an asshole. Yeah, we'll get into him in a second. Anyway, so yeah, 33 Miles Fairfield, we see, car driving in it. The funny thing is that with 9 movies about a deadite slasher in the span of 14 years, all of these cabins are super well maintained and like up to date. Like they don't look like rustic log cabins. This actually looks like something you would actually pay a lot of money to rent. But you would think with all these murders and such, they wouldn't be that well maintained. Like, why do that? That seems stupid. Like, just open a new camp. Like, a couple miles down the road. Hopefully Jason, especially if it's like Camp Crystal Lake or Camp Blood, rather. One would think that they would, we can bulldoze this and open up another camp and, I don't know, plant some corn or something here. Either way, the music is recycled again from all the other movies, but I don't mind it because I actually like the recycled music. It's done by the dude that does The House. I forgot that gentleman's name. But I really like every time he does a score, I love it. He did like I think he did do all the music, or at least all the music was recycled for all the Friday 13th movies. So either he got a really good deal or a really bad deal. I'm not sure. I'll look up his name in a second. Yeah. I promised to read reviews before I moved on. So, okay. Patrick, I suck with last names. Covigan, Cavanaughh, Kavanagh. There we go. Patrick Kavanagh. 1 out of 5 stars. Given the dregs of the franchise, it's hard to call this an embarrassment, but it does show how far the franchise has fell over its tenure. I agree. I don't think it's the worst out of them. I wouldn't give it a 1 star. I mean, I'd give it a 2. Like I said, I think I'm giving this a 40. Like it is certified rotten. It's not the worst in the series, but it's not the best by far. It does have its moments that make it kind of cool. I might go a 45 on this movie. That's about it. I can't go far over. This is a very good review. I could tell just by the score. I haven't even read it yet because it's 1.5, meaning they're not just pandering this movie. They say, oh, there's something here. So this is by Brian Bissell, which I think we read his review before. Well, in discussion to take the franchise in a new direction is admirable. This film's plot is so nonsensical and convoluted that the creative team's big swing ends up with a big woof. I agree. Again, I really do think that they could have done a lot better. I think that there's probably a lot of writers in the kitchen. Like I said, if the movie had 3 different titles and 3 different scripts probably going on for it, Jason X had the same kind of problem, but Jason X pulled it off somehow. Yeah. Anyway, there's another couple of reviews on here, but they're a little too long. I don't want to go into it. Let's talk about who's in this. So Adam Marcus directed this. John D. LeMay plays Steven, who's not in anything. However, he looks just like, oh no, this is the only movie he's in. Wow, look at that. He looks exactly like the dude, the teenager rather, in, I don't know if this was done purposefully or not, but from Freddy vs. Jason. He looks like the nerdy kid who's into Destiny's Child. Anyway, and he's actually, as a protagonist, not bad in this movie. He's kind of a goober in the beginning, and then you kind of like him a little bit. Stephen Williams is Duke. Again, Stephen Williams is really good in this movie. Not so much. His best movie is It, at least highest rated. And Jason Goes to Hell is his lowest rated. Not surprising. I never seen it. I never want to see it. I don't like Steven Spielberg. Or sorry, not Steven Spielberg. I love Steven Spielberg. I apologize. I meant, the master of macabre. Stephen King. Yeah, Stephen King. I think makes crap books and good movies. Of course, Kane Hodder, this is one of his last times playing Jason Voorhees. He also has a bit part as one of the security guards, which we'll get into. And yeah, what would I give this? Like I said, a 40. I'd give it 2 out of, on the tomato meter, 2 stars. Not worth owning. Is it worth renting if you haven't seen it in a while? Yeah, I'd say so. Or let's put it this way. If you're watching all the Friday the 13th, is it worth watching? I would actually go, yeah. In fact, it is. Just skip the last 4. No. You know what? Watch 1, 2, 3, 4, and then skip to number 8, and then skip to this one. And then after that, I would skip to Jason X. Actually, you don't have to skip. That's the next one. And then watch Freddy vs. Jason, because Freddy vs. Jason is amazing. To this day, it's got Catherine Isabel in it. How can it be bad? And also, it's got Robert Englund. And it's actually, fun fact, I think we've talked about this before, probably the one and only movie that, number 1 and Freddy vs. Jason are the 2 only ones where Kane Hodder is actually not involved. All right. So back to this. In the first 3 minutes, we get a hot naked girl. And of course, she's going to take a bath. And you could tell something's amiss, though, because Jason attacks and this girl doesn't trip. She doesn't trip in the forest. She actually does barrel rolls and flips and all this other stuff. And you're like, damn, something's going on, right? So it's kind of fan service in a little way where we get some boobies right in the beginning, and I dig that. And also, this chick is a bit of all right, but she turns out to be an FBI agent, and they lead Jason off to this open field, which, first off, I don't know how Jason knew that there was a girl naked bathing and going, I must kill, but did not realize a football field away that there is a tactical group of FBI agents armed to the teeth with floodlights in a helicopter just on standby. One would think Jason would prioritize. I guess he can't. He saw the hot brunette and thought he had to kill. And you know what? With that, I'm going to give this a pass. Anyway, Jason is then shot by multiple calibers of bullets, as we hear in the autopsy, which is kind of funny because normally FBI agents would probably be only using 9s or NATO rounds or whatever, but I don't know. And he is then exploded by rockets dropped from a helicopter that we actually don't see, or at least I think it's a helicopter. It could be grenade. I don't know, but they say, like, get down from above, so I'm assuming helicopter. Anyway, Jason is exploded to pieces, and within the first 5 minutes in the movie, we have our first death, and it turns out to be Jason. Interesting enough. All right. Anyway, now we have the credit autopsy scene. Now, as an 11-year-old kid watching this for the first time, this part scared the shit out of me. So this might be actually the best scene in the movie. It is really kind of cool to see, an autopsy of Jason Voorhees and him explaining, like, maybe the root cause of things, like. And anyway, we're looking at, 3rd-degree burns, 2nd-degree burns, multiple gunshot wounds, blah, blah, blah. The body's all in pieces. And this dude's kind of like piecing it together. And the funny thing, though, is before he goes in, we actually see Kane Hodder frisking the guy. The actor that plays Jason actually is the security guard. And he frisks this dude. And then, of course, his partner comes in. But moments before that, of course, the original autopsy duder, the coroner, for whatever reason, is studying Jason's heart, which is twice the size and large of what it should be. And he says it's filled with a black viscous fluid. And he decides to take a bite out of it. No explanation, really. Not needed, I guess. I mean, if this is an Evil Dead universe, which we kind of concluded it was, I guess it was the Kandarian demons telling him to do so, even though Kandarian demons are not mentioned. We're just going to assume Kandarian demons, I guess. Anyway, so then he becomes, like a lunatic, if you will. Like, this corner has now got the spirit of Jason in him, I guess. So he kills his buddy who brings pizza. I have a problem with this because if anyone's going to bring you pizza, don't kill them. You should let them live, even if you are Jason Voorhees or a Kandarian demon. If someone's bringing you pizza, you let them bring you pizza. That is what they call an offering, and you should respect that. Golden rule, man. Golden rule. Don't kill anyone with pizza unless they put fucking pepperoni or ham on it. Then you can go ahead and kill them. I hate it when everyone wants to order pizza and they all get pepperoni. It's like, how old are we? Can we get an olive mushroom? Can we get an artichoke garlic? Can we get a meatball and pepper? How about that? Let's be adults here. Pepperonis for Chuck E. Cheese. I think we're older than that. Let's move on to the movie. All right, so then we get this like hard copy guy, this current affairs thing. Now, this was all the rage in the 90s. There was all these crime shows. Now, we all listen to our murder porn podcasts, I know. Back in the day, there was like current affair and hard copy and unsolved mysteries. In the early 90s, true crime was definitely a primetime product. It usually came on around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. It came kind of after your Cheers or your Simpsons. But it was a big thing. I know I was in love with a lot of those shows. Well, anyway, we get a generic version of the show. And this dude is talking about like all the Voorhees murders, blah, blah, blah. Now, he says there was 83 murders in the span of 20 years. I must do a correction on here. First off, the first movie didn't come out to the late 70s. I want to say 79. This movie came out in 93. So that's only 14 years of murder, right? Also, in every Friday the 13th movie, I don't know if you noticed this, there is 13 different counselors. 12 of them die, and then there's one survivor. So I did the math, and he's very off. It's 96 different murders. Now in Jason X, there's like 1,000 murders because I think a planet is destroyed or something, or a whole spaceship crashes. But either way, that didn't happen yet. So yeah, they're wrong on that. All it took is someone with a calculator and 15 seconds on the toilet to figure out this math. That was me. Someone in post should have fixed that. Anyway, so then we get like this magical black man. His name's Duke. You need one in a lot of zombie movies. It's good to have him. We had the Riverman and Return of the Living Dead Part 3, of course, and the original Night of the Living Dead. No, having a black dude who knows what's up about the supernatural is very important in movies in the 90s and the 80s and sometimes the 70s. But in this movie, we get, of course, Duke, who has compromised motives, to say the least. He wants $500,000 to kill Jason. He's talking on the show. He's like, give me $500,000 and I'll get you. And then he gives the worst Jaws ripoff. Here's the first. Hold on. I don't know if I have my bell, but if I had my bell, I would ring it right now. Do I have my bell? Where the hell is my bell? Hell's bells. Where's my bell? Okay, well, just ring it for yourself. Ding. Number one ripoff of this movie is Duke goes, and for that, remember the $500,000. He goes, and for that, you'll get the mask, you'll get the machete, you'll get the whole damn thing. That's exactly a quote from Jaws, basically. I mean, verbatim. That's what Quint says in the town hall meeting. Except for it's $50,000, and I think he says you'll get the jaw, the tail, the whole damn thing. But all right, either way. And then he then rips off another person in the same interview. He goes, everybody's got a price. So he's quoting Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Hold on. I need a drink after this. Jesus. There's my bell. Found my bell. Okay, I'm back. So there's 2 ripoffs in this movie already. Again, this movie does not know what it wants to be. Okay, and then we get Steven, our nerdy white guy, who's driving. And I don't know what was going on with sound production, but it seems like he's listening to something that he's not listening to. Because when he's riding, he's bobbing his head all around, and he looks like Ginger from Terminator 1, where he's like all into his music. He seems like he's on ecstasy, but I don't think ecstasy was invented then. But it seems like he is. He's like really, really about his stereo. And he pulls over to pick up these hitchhikers, and there's a really hot blonde, and she's trying to like go, hey, we're going to skinny dip later. You want to come with us? And he's like, where are you guys going? Oh, we're going to Camp Blood. He's like, so you're going to have premarital sex and smoke pot and die? And then the girl in the back goes, no, Jason's dead. We're going to have premarital sex and smoke pot and not die. Want to come with us? Anyway, I would say this guy is dumb for saying no, because we know what's going to happen. However, that blonde was pretty hot, and shame on him. Maybe he could have saved everything before it got to his baby and his children and had a good time. I don't know. I'm just saying. I didn't write the script. Moving on. We get the girls and that one dude, lucky guy, returning from skinny dipping. And we get to see, some nice nudity. And also, for whatever reason, they had the blonde urinate in the forest, and we get to hear it. I don't know if this was a creative choice or just a way to lure her in. Now, I'm not kink shaming anybody, but we don't need to hear it. She could have just went off, and then we could have saw the death scene. We don't need to actually see her squatting. That's all I'm saying. So, like I said, not kink shaming. If you're into that, cool, whatever, as long as it doesn't cause a murder, which this actually does. So now the coroner is now the embodiment of Jason? Question marks? I guess he is. We establish it later in the movie. Anyway, let's see. Oh, yeah. Later on, I just wrote this down because I wrote this randomly in my book. Later on in the Voorhees house, right, when we see the weird vaginal embodiment of Jason's distant family member, when it's like the thing, we actually see the crate from the movie Creepshow. And it's the exact crate from Creepshow. It even says, like, from Antarctica, blah, blah, blah. And if you guys remember Creepshow, it's a way better movie than this movie. Also, it's kind of a cool, like, Easter egg. However, again, this movie is actually letting us know that it rips every other movie off. It's just blatantly going, dude, we know we ripped everything off, but we're going to admit it. It's kind of like a kid in third grade doing long division, showing their work. That's kind of what this movie is doing right now at this point. Okay, moving on. Okay, so, another fun fact. Tobe Hooper, known for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is not his best movie, by the way. His best movie is, by far, Life Force. Life Force has got naked space vampires, and it's way better. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just kind of like one of those movies everyone loves because you're supposed to love it. But when you actually rewatch it, you realize the sequel's even better. Plus, the sequel's got, like, Dennis Hopper in it. And it's got a chainsaw sword fight, which is way better than anything that Star Wars has ever done. Just saying. Anyway, and he turned it down. And then as did John Meartman, McTiernan. I'm bad at last names. John McTiernan was actually approached to this, and he goes, dude, I'm already like knee deep in Last Action Hero, which is a way better movie. John McTiernan, by the way, is one of the dudes who did Predator, if not the dude who did Predator, if you don't count Shane Black. Anyway, fun facts. There you go. He also did Commando, which I'm not a fan of as much because it should be a better movie. Then again, I think that was his first real big movie, and then Predator came out right after, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, moving on. Okay, Steven's magical handcuffs and shirt. So Steven in this movie, he becomes our main protagonist. There's a lot of continuity errors with his shirt and also with his handcuffs. So, and sometimes he's got handcuffs and sometimes they're in the front, sometimes they're in the back. Yeah, he does jump over once, but then they go back down again. And then sometimes they're like not cuffed, but they're still on. It's very weird. And also his shirt will go from like very bloody and his pants will be bloody. And the next scene they won't. It's very, the editing in here was terrible. Someone should have tapped somebody on the shoulder and said, dude, like, what's going on with the blood? And now it's gone in his back. At least they do a good job with him not wearing his glasses, because, I mean, I've seen that in movies, but anyway. This was only a 45-day shoot. It was shot from the 20th of July to the 4th of September. And I don't know what the budget is. I'm pretty sure it didn't lose money, because I remember this movie being everywhere and being highly promoted. And I remember at Blockbuster, seeing the posters and everything else. I'm pretty sure it reoccurred. I don't think it was a Supergirl situation. Sip of beer. All right. Yeah, I talked about Jason Goes to LA. There was a video game released to this. Now, I wasn't told or could not find any footage of it. Excuse me. I don't know if it was Genesis or Super Nintendo. Those were the two big systems at the time. Of course, the rich kids had Neo Geo, or if you live in Japan. I'm pretty sure this was an arcade, because it says an arcade slasher game. It was actually finished and ready to package and sell, and then they didn't. Now, this was during the Tipper Gore crap, where games had to have a M. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember when Tipper Gore went after not only albums but also video games. It was like albums like Mortal Kombat, video games like Mortal Kombat hit her radar, and she wanted a policing of things on all media, whether it instead of she wanted a movie rating basically on albums and also on video games, and that's why we have the M for Mature today. I always say my podcast is M for Mature, for comic mischief, boobies, and blood. Anyway, so maybe that's why it wasn't released, or maybe because I know Nintendo kind of had some high standards about releasing games. Like the Mortal Kombat at the time did not even have blood in it, and they had to change all the fatalities to, like, you know, Scorpion would set you on fire, of course, but, like, you know, Sub-Zero, instead of ripping off your head with your spinal column, which was awesome, he would instead freeze you and crack you, which was kind of cool, but not as cool. I mean, let's be honest. That's why everyone plays Sub-Zero. People like ripping off heads. So maybe that's why, you know, it got canned. Anyway, we cut to another scene here. I know I'm all over the place, but we have the shaving body switch. So this is when we see the coroner wants to take over a sheriff, and for some reason he wants to shave him. It's kind of horror, and it's kind of like, in a weird way, like, you know, homoerotic. I don't really know how to say it. It gets interrupted, of course, and then shenanigans ensue, and the cop is then possessed and then gets shot in the head, and then all of a sudden Jason's like a relative who's works at the diner. Stuff happens. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. Did you know that the heart in this movie was actually reused in the movie Dusk Till Dawn? It was by the monkey face vampire. There you go. Fun fact. Who I believe was actually played by the same dude. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oops, I just spilled beer in my hand. Nope. Well, I mean, we can ding the bell for that, I guess. Stephen Williams in Dusk Till Dawn. Let's take a look. He was in House? Wait a minute. He was in House? Shit. He was the cop in House. That makes sense. You wouldn't be the same author that wrote Blood Dance, would you? Yeah, he was in House. Wow. Okay, well, there's our House connection. We have the same dude doing the music, and we have this. I knew he looked familiar. Okay, well, there we go. All right. I thought he was. I guess he wasn't. All right, I lied. All right. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, his heart was stabbed by a pencil, and it kills him. And Dusk Till Dawn. Okay. Duke breaks Steven's fingers for reasons. I don't understand why this dude just wants to inflict pain on Steven. And also, doesn't this hurt his mission in a way? If he's really apt about killing Jason Voorhees, then why the hell would be breaking the fingers of the person that's supposed to be helping him? I do not understand this at all. it's I don't get it. I could get why you go, hey, I'm going to break your finger so you could say I broke your finger and get out of here, which does actually happen. But I mean, anyway, he gives them details like only a Voorhees can kill Jason. He has to be of the same bloodline, blah, 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 plot line, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it's kind of to the effect of we kind of knew what was going on because this movie rips off so many other movies. We're kind of seeing a theme here. Anyway. So now, anyway, he then escapes, he being Steven, pronouns pal. And he sees his daughter Stephanie at the diner. He's never met her before. This is like, so apparently he's the father of the last Voorhees, I guess. And that makes him important. Truly, he's probably the only likable character in this. One would argue Duke is likable, but he's not. He's kind of a dick, to say the least. But anyway, there you go. He's there, and he sees his daughter, and one of the cooks catches him and gives him his keys and goes, get out of here, boss. So he does. One would think he would take his daughter with him if he cared about her, especially when there's some weird stuff going on, including a killer that can switch bodies that you've witnessed happen. One would think you would take your daughter with you. Doesn't happen, though. Especially if she's the key to Jason's rebirth or whatnot. I don't know. Anyway, finally, he makes his way to the Voorhees house. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this. I did. The mailbox is spelled differently than the Voorhees I have written down, and we've written down many a times in the show. Voorhees is spelled incorrectly. There you go. I think there's either I forgot exactly. It's either X or O, or they minus the H or some shit. Or no, they had one less O, something like that. And anyway, we have Steven snooping around, and he finds the Necronomicon from Evil Dead Part 1. I know a lot of people say it's Evil Dead Part 2. It's not. It's the same face covering. However, the books are different because in Evil Dead Part 1 versus Evil Dead Part 2. Evil Dead Part 2 is exactly the Diablo handbook from the game Diablo that came out by Blizzard. It is written in red and black. This one's only written in black. It is from the original Necronomicon. Now, one would think there's a dagger coming in this movie and there's a Necronomicon. Does this make this in the Evil Dead universe? Apparently, this is supposed to be in the Evil Dead universe. If not, it's just another ripoff. There's the bell. However, according to my sources, I don't know how good they are, but according to my sources, Sam Raimi wanted to apologize to New Line Cinema. So we've covered this in our Evil Dead, and I didn't know all of it, but I'm going to give you a little bit more. One of Tom Savini's heads, Tom Savini being the makeup artist, was actually stolen from the, I don't know if it's Evil Dead 1 or Evil Dead 2, and it was used, like one of his, grotesque heads was actually used in one of those movies. Tom Savini borrowed it without asking and brought it back, and it was damaged. Also, in Evil Dead 2, Tom Savini never admitted to it, or sorry, not Tom Savini. I'm mixing up my guys. Come on. Sam Raimi, sorry, was the one who actually borrowed Tom Savini's head and used it and didn't tell anybody and brought it back. Well, in Evil Dead 2, I guess as a prank, Sam Raimi actually took the Freddy glove and put it in the garage. So when Ash is going, looking for the chainsaw, you could actually see the Freddy glove in the background there. I don't remember exactly what scene it is, if he gets his hand cut off and he's making the chainsaw arm, or if it's before that when he goes chainsaw. But when he turns on the light, you could see the Freddy glove dangling right next to the light. So he took a Freddy and a Jason prop, and I guess to either A, tie it together, which makes sense, or B, as an apology, let them use the Necronomicon. And also the idea of the dagger. Which, by the way, Evil Dead Burn just came out, and it all has to do with daggers, and you can only kill the... You know what? In a way, Evil Dead Burn is a remake of this movie. It way better, where only the family can kill the family, and da-da-da, and this and that, and magical daggers. Evil Dead Burn is actually a very, very, very better version than Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Goes to Hell is pretty bad. Evil Dead Burn, I think I gave it a 92 or a 93. I cannot wait to watch that on when it comes out in physical, man. I know what I'm doing that day. Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, after this. Okay, I forgot. So after this, so then anyway, the hard copy guy, the true crime guy comes in and he intentionally steals the Voorhees girl's body from the morgue during the whole shaving weird homoerotic scene and actually placing her in a closet because he thinks it will make his ratings go through the roof. However, at this time, we actually get the sheriff who's possessed by Jason and he kills him while Steven watches, but Steven kind of falls through a very, very obvious trap door and he's kind of dangling there and witnesses the whole thing. And then he tries to escape. And then we have Jessica, Stephanie's mom, come in, and then he gets her in the car, and she's going to take a shower, and she's naked. Again, like, don't take a shower in these movies. Just be like me. Just like, you can take a shower once a week. It's all you need. And then he runs over the hard copy guy, and then she asks him to pull over. He explains the situation that, of course, Duke explained to him. She doesn't believe it, of course, because reasons. Her acting is less believable than his story, to be honest. She somehow gets him out of the car and drives off without him. And then the cop that arrested Steven in the first place catches up to him and they get in a fight. And then we rip off another movie, They Live. We get a total rip off of They Live where they're like friends fighting. And finally it comes down to he figures out that because, she drives away and then instantaneously just makes it to the police station with no problems at all, like the next scene, and he's still on the side of the road. One would think that he would have moved a little, but no. Anyway, the greatest thing is she goes, oh yeah, it's right past the Myers place, which is hilarious. Because, again, what are we doing here? We're just going to mention horror movies and tell, like, we get a good one? Is that what we're going to do? Because, I've rang the bell like 5 times. There's more to come. Because now we get like an exact ripoff of the Terminator 1 scene where the T-800 breaks in and basically kills everybody in the police district or precinct rather. Of course, it's not that cool at all, and it's really lame actually. And this is also where Steven just jumps over his handcuffs, elbows a cop, grabs a gun, and shoots hard copy guy. And then 2 cops come over and he smashes his heads in. And then it's just stupid, dude. Okay, the diner scene, though, right after this. So they all escape and they're headed after little Stephanie, who's in the diner because that's where she was babysat, et cetera, et cetera. And, by the way, we get a really crude message from the hard copy guy saying that he just had sex with Jessica. He doesn't use that word, though. And he goes, and now I'm going to discover her dead sister in the closet. It's going to be ratings gold. So you kind of want this douchebag to die from the beginning. And luckily he gets his comeuppance like a lot because, he's far beyond dead by the time he's dead. But either way, I still hate him. So yeah, this scene rips off Terminator, and it's not good at all. It's just lackluster. And for a Jason movie too, it's okay. Why does Jason strike from the shadows and is very like Predator-like in all of his movies, but in this one, not so much? Like usually Jason will hit you one-on-one, and in this movie, he's just like, whatever, I'm just borrowing a body anyway. Don't mind me. And that's kind of what happens. And that happens anyway. But the diner scene, though, does make up for it. The diner scene is actually quite good. There's a lot of good action and good effects in it. And I swear, this is kind of where the movie gets a little bit better, and then it starts ripping things off again. So finally, they find a note where Stephanie should be, and of course, Duke took the kid, and here we have a final showdown, and they rip off Ghostbusters, they rip off The Thing, they kind of rip off Invasion of Body Snatchers. There we go. We got a lot of we rip off Evil Dead again. We rip off so many things here because they cut open the dude's head, or Steven does, with a machete. Oh yeah, he sees a machete before they leave the diner. Of course, you got to have a machete in it. It's a Jason movie, and yeah, he cuts off the dude's head, and then just like The Thing where he goes, and then like this like little Jason demon thing comes out of his neck. It's really dumb. And it runs around, but not before like he tries to do the whole like Vigo the Carpathian shit with like the kid to try to like possess his body in the kid, which I don't know about anyone's stands on, infanticide, but I'm pretty sure at this point they probably wouldn't let the kid live. Just saying, if like, that worm thing went in his body, they'd probably, I don't know, at that point you probably should just burn it. I don't know. I had no attraction to the kid. Like I had no like pathos. I mean, the kid didn't even have a line. I'm of course joking. I know the kid couldn't have a line. It's way too young. I will say this on Ghostbusters 2, the kid was way cuter. Oscar was way cuter than this kid. This kid was kind of ugly. Anyway, so yeah, it rips off Ghostbusters, it rips off The Thing. The Thing crawls around and it ends up in one of Voorhees' I guess nieces or something. The dead diner girl, it crawls up her vag and becomes Super Jason, and he just pops out of nowhere wearing full clothes and mask, by the way. One would think he would just be reborn with his machete. Why not? If you're going to give him his mask and his clothes, why not? Oh, and the greatest scene is he goes like, Steven goes, does it matter what Voorhees, if it's live or dead? And Duke goes, no, it doesn't. How do you know the rules, dude? How do you know the rules? Did you read that Sumerian text? Because, I mean, I've heard it at least played on all the Evil Deads, and it doesn't say anything about, vaginal rebirth. Sorry, I really need alcohol for this review. I apologize. If I'm pausing, it's because I'm drinking. All right, anyway, we get that. And the most expensive scene in the movie, believe it or not, is when Duke throws the dagger and it becomes like this new dagger in her hand. That was the most expensive scene in this movie. I don't know how that was the most expensive scene in this movie, because afterward we actually get a very good, or a little bit before, we got a really good Jason dissolving after the demon comes out of his body into another body. And it reminds me of The Fly Part 2, which is a way better movie than this. Anyway, every movie I mentioned is better. You know what? I'm ringing the bell for that. It rips off The Fly Part 2. There you go. All right. So now we have our last standoff, which is Jessica and Steven, and they're fighting Jason, and it is not good. Jason seems wussy here. Like, he seems like, in part 2, it makes sense because he's human. In this one, it doesn't make sense because he's supposed to be like the super powerful Deadite. But yeah, like Jason hides in like a jungle gym playground thing, and Jason just rips it over, and then he's like reaching for him, and then he could kill him multiple times, but he doesn't. He's dragging him for some reason. He's like, why are you dragging him? You're Jason. You're supposed to be a killing machine. What's going on here? This does not make any sense. And then out of nowhere, we get like a backstab attack where Jessica runs with this magical dagger that she can wield, and it goes inside, and then all this power shoots out, and all this red power comes out, and then he's still not dead. So then for whatever reason, Steven, with broken fingers, by the way, just decides to punch him in his mask, which don't know. Why would you do that? Why would you punch somebody with a mask on? Use your elbow or a weapon. But no, he decides to punch him, and each time punches him, like, some fairy flyer comes out. I mean that, like, the D&D term when like something's shiny and you punch it and it shines more. And then finally, she goes, go to hell. And then she runs and does a jump kick and like kicks the dagger, and the hilt goes in, and he dies and goes away. And then finally, when he goes away, I mean, like the heavens open up in really bad CGI, lighting effects. Actually, no, it wasn't CGI. It was just lighting effects. They're still pretty bad, though. They light up around his body, and then these like gummy bear-looking hands come out, and you could tell it's all like, I mean, Guar looks better than this, and does look better than this. Come out and try to drag Jason into hell or into the ground, whatever. And he tries to drag Steve in. Of course, she's holding Steve in. No, don't go, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, so they make it out. And then, you know, there's like just like a little bit of light on the mask. And then we see the leaves blow and it cuts the next day. And this would today be a post-credit scene. However, this was, I'm not going to say it was before post-credits because it wasn't. Because post-credit scene were actually invented by one of my favorite movies, Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
There will be no movie tomorrow.
But anyway, we do get a post-credit scene, but it's pre-post-credit of someone not Robert Englund doing Freddy's voice, grabbing the mask, there's another rip, and pulling it down and laughing. And then every kid at the schoolyard was geared up for Freddy vs. Jason, which we would not get for another 8 years? 9 years? I think it was in 2003. So 10 years? Yeah. By the way, this movie was held on for a full year before it was released. I don't know why. It was. Yeah, so final verdict, I don't rank it that okay, it's not a Friday the 13th movie, but if it was a Friday the 13th movie, if it's a Jason movie, I put it smack dab in the middle. I'd say number 2 is the best, number 4 is great. And then I put number 1 and then number 3, and then I'd put Jason in Space, aka Jason Goes to Jason X, and then I put this movie, and then I put the other 4 that you never have to see. But I would put at the top of the other 4 that you never have to see, of course, I'd put Jason Takes Manhattan just for its comedic value. That's how I rank it. As a movie itself, I'm going to give this a 40. I said 40 and 43, 45. I'm going to give it a 42. It angers me talking about this movie. Now, it wasn't as bad as I remember, and I don't think it deserves. I'm not going to say criminally underrated. I do not think it deserves a 12 and 20, or sorry, 15 and 23. I think that's a little low. I don't think it's that bad. But is it bad? Yeah, it's bad. Is it watchable? Yes, it is. Is it worth owning? No, it's not. Should you see it? If you're a fan of the franchise, you should definitely see it. But don't set your heart by it. I mean, it's not great by any means. So not great, in fact, that I didn't even have a guest today. So I'm sorry to put you guys through this. But hey, I watch it so you don't have to, as the nostalgia critic just said many years ago before all of his shenanigans came up. There you go. Cool, guys. Well, that was Jason Goes to Hell. I am going to return some videotapes, and I'm going to go ahead and close out my thing. But as promised, the podcast is over. But if you want to hear the latest track off our album, Dreadnought, by Heaven's Heels, that's the name of the band. You could actually find us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your music, Apple Music, we're everywhere. But you're not going to find this song on there yet because we haven't released the full album. So I'm actually releasing tracks as they come on my Patreon and then at the end of the podcast. So it's a remake of a song that I think is one we've been working on for a long time. I really like it. It's a very interesting song. It's biblical, of course. And yeah, I hope you dig it. It's called Seraph. So without any further ado, thank you for listening to the podcast, and please enjoy the song. And if you don't, just skip ahead to the next one. And I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.